So I think that's the section coming in together. There is that diversity in that unified theme, which also means, unlike other panel discussions, I will have to go sequentially in nature, that each doctor, each practitioner is able to share in his or her inputs before we switch to the next area. So we're going to have about 20 minutes per doctor. Please hold on to your questions towards the end. Audience who's joined us on Zoom as well, please keep sending your questions on chat. We will take them up towards the end. There is one catch before I start that I do want to share. Very unavoidable scenario where Dr. Chhavi has to catch a flight at 2 this afternoon for a talk in Mumbai at 6 this evening. So she will leave us by 11:30. So we'll go anyway sequentially. I have planned for Dr. Chhavi first, just alphabetical order. Pramila next and Dr. Sridutt towards the end. So it so happened that we will start with Dr. Chhavi. If we have time, she will also take questions right now. But if not, we will make sure your questions are answered and you get them subsequent to this session. So without any further delays, let's get started. Thank you again, doctors, panelists, for joining us here today. Dr. Chhavi, we'll start off with you focusing on metabolism. We're hearing so much about this word metabolism in the context of holistic wellness. It is such an overloaded term again. I always hear people saying someone is super thin despite the amount of food the person consumes. Someone is obese despite the very little the person consumes. And all of this we immediately say is attributed to the metabolism of the individual. So that's such a confusing term. But in general, tell us in simplistic ways, simplistic understanding terms, what is metabolism? How does it relate to it?
Thank you, Rajni, and thank you, Ruchi, for having me here. And I apologize for this, leaving early. But going to the question, which is a very loaded and heavy question, but I'll try to simplify that for you. So what is metabolism? If we really look at it from the chemistry of metabolism, it's just a series of biochemical processes that happen in your body and they maintain healthy rhythm. Very simple. It's two kinds of metabolisms that make the word metabolism. One is catabolism, where there's a breakdown and energy is released. For example, when we take carbs, they break down into glucose and release energy. That is a catabolic reaction in your body. The second aspect of metabolism is anabolism. Anabolism actually causes us to generate new cells, maintain tissues, and it uses the energy that comes from catabolism of those carbs, glucose, convert into glucose, energy is released. So this balance of daily, every minute catabolism and anabolism is what keeps you metabolically healthy. Now the question comes is, what we are hearing is metabolic disorders, which is what I deal in as a physician day in and day out. And whenever there's a disbalance between your energy expenditure and the energy you take in, which is basically calorie, but it leads into added calories in your body that are converted into fat, and that is what causes metabolic disorder. And this happens over years and years because it is such a complex phenomenon and it involves tissues, enzymes, which are basically hormones in our bodies. It actually is influenced by many things. For example, let's look at this. So as we get older, males and females, okay, we reduce testosterone in men and women start to lack estrogen. These are very important anabolic hormones. And what happens is they consume energies because the levels fall down. That added energy doesn't get consumed and starts to convert into fat in our body. So we say, menopause is coming, we're gaining weight. Why? Because the anabolic estrogen is going down. Similarly, so age itself in our body will determine a slowing of the metabolism. So if you understand, now men have much more muscle mass than women do. To make muscle in the body, you need more calorie. To make fat, you need less calorie. So men, as God made them, they had more muscle mass than women. They have more bone mass than women. And as a result of it, their BMR or basal metabolic rate is higher than us. So their metabolism is faster than women. So we will see, he eats so much and doesn't gain weight, and I eat little bit and I gain weight. So then you have to understand. so you have to understand. I mean, some situations we just go beyond. We eat just too much, so that will take care of everything else. So that happens. For example, you look at sleep. If you don't sleep properly, your neuroendocrine mechanism, and he's very aware of that, it becomes arrested. It actually makes you make less of leptin. There's a particular hormone that makes you satiety. So if you're not sleeping properly, your leptin levels will fall, and you will actually not feel, you'll be more hungry and you will not be satiated enough. So a simple thing like sleep. So I said age, I said male versus female, I said sleep, and if you look at physical activity, what does it do? Physical activity, if you are constantly on the move, you are doing some aerobic exercises, cardio, running around, doing stuff, you increase your metabolic rate, you increase your metabolism. So metabolism, Rajini, really is to understand the depth of so many chemical processes going within your body, and the disturbance between your breakdowns versus your new tissues formation, which causes this gamut of metabolic disorders, which I see every day. Diabetes, hypertension, hyperlipidemia. And that is why I, as a physician over the years, have really gone to prevention now, as you know about what I'm doing currently, is that I've got to work on letting people understand that they are in control of their metabolisms. Every single person can do it. You don't have to depend on a doctor to fix your metabolism by giving you some pills that actually work on the high sugar levels which are caused from a metabolic deficit, rather than correcting the metabolic deficit by understanding every single metabolic process in your body. So I mean, this is where I go with metabolism, and I hope that I was able to make everybody understand that you have to, every factor, which is age, sex, muscle mass in your body. That's why if you have come to my clinic, I keep talking, make your muscles, strength training, weights. Why do I do that? I want to convert that fat into that muscle. And when you have muscle, your metabolic rate rises. So everybody in our country, we need education. What is muscle mass? What is strength training? What do they do rather than just taking a walk every day? I take a walk half an hour in the morning. I take a walk. That's very good. I don't see that makes blood flow go through organs. Some sort of muscle is built up. But if you are not doing strength training or muscle building in some form, you are not helping your metabolism. Metabolism is the key. Making your basal metabolic rate go higher is the key. Exercise in a particular manner, understanding how each exercise helps in increasing your BMR is the way you go. So,
thanks, doctor. One takeaway for me right there, because I just say I walk and I'm taken care of, which is truly not the case. So now you spoke about catabolism and anabolism balance coming in together. Now let's get granular into one more element of it, which is the glucose management and diabetes, which is especially a major challenge the country is grappling with. So you are leading a pan-India effort on diabetic reversal. Tell us how this program works holistically, because the challenge that I think we all continue to see is the results and outcomes are great when someone is in the program, but long-term sustenance, how do you go through this so that you mentioned you don't need a doctor, you can manage it yourself? So tell us how the program works holistically.
Thank you, Rajin. And I'm really happy to introduce this to everybody, but as a doctor who's practiced for 27 years now, I really am physician, and in the West and India, where I wanted to come back, medicine is, or health of human beings is regulated with culture. A cultural background is a huge part of, and if I don't penetrate the cultural needs of people, I really cannot fix their issues. So I worked at every ground level for the last 14 years as a physician and understanding problems at the rural level, at the urban level. I did my med school and left for the US, so I understood how well they understood health, fitness, and the impact of that, and diet controls, and low calorie diets and low carb diets, because they were ketos. But when I come back to India, we're all carb. I mean, we're the carb rich country. And you see 170 million diabetic and pre-diabetics exist in India today. And I cannot even fathom the global impact or the Indian impact of this disease on our finances or the economics of this country. It's very, very important that these things also relate to that. We work on it today. So the whole program is dependent on a 360-degree assessment. So what we do is we actually basically get your history, your past history, your education.
Recording in progress.
Intensively your social stature, your work, your environment, provision, resources, your physical capability, your age, everything, your genetics, and we create, and we also apply a 2-week sensor. Some of my patients here put it on, and I think we look at 2 weeks of what happens to your body, 24 hours with sugar and the food you eat, your exercise done, the impact of it. And then we create a digital twin of you, which we understand at a very deep cellular individual level. We also see what is the tech capability of a person. I can't have a person who cannot put their data into the app come on the program, because that is a very important part of the program. Then we have a life coach which is being trained in the program to look at all these factors, work with the patient on literally a daily level, and alternate days, or daily level, a video call week, and we slowly ingrain in them a habit. So let's say a week she will tell you to do one habit. When you master that habit, a second habit. So over the year, the program sort of makes you master and become confident of each habit. There are 2 bases of the program. Number 1 is developing sustainable habits which come out from your daily routines or your kitchens. So a Bengali coach cannot be mapped with a Malayali coach, because we cannot even understand, the Bengali coach cannot understand the kitchen of a person coming from Kerala. You've got to have it regional specific. Now the coach has to look at the psychological while the physical capability of the patient. All of that work together, and we then produce within their own constraints a habit formation week after week. The program believes in something called circadian rhythm, which I believe in, which you get up in the morning, live with the sun, you end your day with the sunset. You don't want to eat after sunset. And this is physiologically supported, because as sunset comes in and light goes out, your melatonin levels rise, your growth hormone, which is the anabolic hormone, which should now be working in making new cells and tissues. The minute you put food in, their insulin with these 2 hormones is not going to work. And when it doesn't work, that carb or that calorie or that gets converted into fat. So the later any of you eats after sunset, you should know that the calories are collected. So the first thing, and I'm sure Pramila will later support this, that the first thing is early finishing of your food. Depending on water for 12 hours is beautiful. I do not believe in extremism. I do not believe in 16-hour IFs. I do not believe in ketos, vegans, paleos. A little bit of everything is what is needed for the body to function. Keeping a 12-hour sun rhythm within you, and that is why it is holistic actually, because you have to really understand. If you look at our scriptures, you look at anywhere, we believed in that. We've forgotten. With all the technology coming up, we've just forgotten that we should finish the last heavy meal before the sunset. So that is a very important part of the program. The second part of the program is habit development. So how do we, with an empathetic understanding of somebody's psychosocial environmental, we develop in them habits that they can stick to, not when once the program is over, they go back. So the longer the sustenance, so my program is a year old and we're getting great results. But the only thing is that I want to see the next 5 years how well my theory was sustained. Because my whole thing is sustenance. It's not about somebody joining the program or correcting or running after a number. We have to run after numbers, but should not be oriented. If I live in a 24-hour and I live 24 hours similar, this is how my 124-hour goes, and I replicate that 90% of the time, which is 6 days a week, I will not get into metabolic disorders. So a person needs to in the program understand to live that 24-hour and replicate it. Not कि मैंने 3 महीने करा, फिर 3 महीने let go, travel हो गया, शादी हो गया, this हो गया, that हो गया. No, if I get up in the morning, before sleeping, I need to reflect and say, what did I do? And so the entire program depends upon personalized, individualized, living with circadian rhythm, developing sustainable habits, and actually really living naturally, I call it, and naturally, but in moderation. So it is completely holistic. We teach a lot of mindfulness. What is mindfulness really? People say, I can't do meditation. And I tell them, you don't need to. You just need to find that 10 minutes. You can have a chanting going around. Just sit quietly, don't think. Don't assess yourself, my meditation kar pa raha hai. But you have to go within yourself. And once you do that, what does that skill of mindfulness? When you get into a habit of doing that, you develop something called mindfulness. What is mindfulness? I know that I need to leave at 11:40. I need to keep tracking that. I know what is on my plate right now and what is good for me and what I need. If that strength comes in, it's 6 p.m. in the evening. I need to go and do a particular weightlifting or training. It is living. Somebody gets me angry on the airport. How I keep calm. That is mindfulness. And when I control my stress by mindfulness, when I look at each plate, when I know what is expected out of me and I can still give to everybody, that is mindfulness. When you start living life in a sahaj, in a natural manner, and once you live that, again, metabolic disorders cannot come. So we have to all see where are we away from that. So medicine really is all about understanding. So as a physician, my journey has been to understand how natural you can live life and how I encourage, I think, all of you who have come to visit me to get on to that journey. And that is what the program is.
Thank you so much, which means that to the next question as well, which is the right habit formation, which is not a generic set of habits that are going to apply globally. What is going to apply based on your regional setting, your regional beliefs, and continuing those set of habits with the right set of mindfulness. In fact, she touched upon one of my talking points, this book called Circadian Code. I read it based on her input. Excellent book. Our friends, we've actually spoken about the book. Sunil has moved into time-restricted eating. There'd be some really enticing foods on the table, but he'd say, no, I'm done with my dinner. So it's 6:30 in the evening and he follows that to the T. So talk to us about gut health and inflammation, doctor, because we know gut is the second brain. And with the festive season coming, although we know that, it is going to be very, very difficult to follow it in such. So tell us, because especially if gut health is so important, the lack of gut health is going to contribute to several major physical disorders. Guys, the way I see it is, she is talking largely about the hardware of the body. We'll touch upon some software elements as well. She comes in to feed it with the right, requirements and intakes. Dr. Sridutt will touch upon the hardware of the spine, but the software as well. I think that's the whole computer program that I see out here. So please tell us about gut health and inflammation, if that is going to largely lead to several of these chronic ailments.
Yes. So with every decade in my journey in medicine, I have learned more and more, and I think I'm so grateful that I enjoy, totally fascinated where different planes of human development, growth, health goes, and the latest is a beautiful understanding of our gut. So I think somewhere if everybody realizes nutrition, health, disease, and metabolism, these are very complex phenomena, I agree, but they're all interdependent. And if you understand, you realize that slowly starts to simplify. It is your understanding of these and saying how beautifully interdependent they are, and I understand them. It starts to simplify for you. You start understanding it. So one of the phenomenon is gut health. So I'll try to make it very like a model, a very simple model of it. So between the intestinal cells, epithelial cells, there are these gates. They're very. So if you go on the highway and there are these toll plazas, it's very important. And they are the security of the toll plaza is your healthy gut flora. Okay, so that will not let you pass. So that will not let these harmful proteins. There are many different kinds of proteins which are very difficult, like gluten. There's a pea protein. There's a lectin protein which comes from certain fibers. They shouldn't enter our bloodstream. Okay? So these people, these healthy gut microflora, they really watch these gates and they don't let it go. So the minute, suppose you take an antibiotic course, you get a little diarrhea, true or false? What happens is that healthy microflora, because the antibiotic was going to work against the bacteria from the throat or the urine or somewhere, it also washes away the healthy microflora that we need in our gut. So we give you Sporolac Lelo, yeah, Econom Lelo, whatever. We always try to give you something because we want to immediately build that up. Because if that doesn't happen, leaky gut happens. Okay? Because those proteins are absorbed. And the minute the proteins are absorbed, which should not be absorbed through these channels, the body's immune process generates inflammation, antibodies, and your body is totally, there's an inflammation. So they have said that there's a cycle where if you suppose are under stress, suppose forget about antibiotics, suppose we are under stress, we haven't slept well, we are in massive stress, that stress generates prostaglandin secretions, which actually cause inflammation in your body. That inflammation also removes gut healthy microflora. And there's a whole process by which I'm not going to go into it, but the gut healthy microflora gets removed by that. Again, you start to get leaky gut. So what does that happen? Irritable bowel. You come to doctors and say, I'm anxious, I'm just feeling terrible, I go to the bathroom all the time. It happens to so many people. We forget that stress is the reason the inflammation, the cortisols, the gut microflora, the really watchdog that does not let those channels open up has released, and we are absorbing all these unhealthy proteins which were normally there in our gut. So we'll say, you know what, I was taking gluten all my life, I'm a roti eater. Now I can't eat. Something happened. That microflora was removed, or your stress or cortisol is causing those channels to stay open, and you are taking the protein in. And so many, India did not have autoimmune diseases that frequently. Now I'm seeing psoriasis, I'm seeing rheumatoid arthritis, I'm seeing all kinds of autoimmune. It can happen from leaky gut. Gut is, and cardiac diseases, diabetes is inflammation. Inflammation of the pancreatic cells that does not let insulin come out sometimes, which is type 1. So type 1 is what? Autoimmune. 90% of type 1 in children is an autoimmune phenomenon. Now, could that be passed from mother to child? Don't know, but it's an autoimmune. Similarly, there's a type 1.5 diabetes, which is an insulin-dependent diabetes on elder people, 25, 30-year-olds, which we are finding more and more in India. Again, autoimmune. You check their antibodies, and if you ask them about gut, a lot of them they're not even obese. They are very slim people. They're not absorbing their food. Their gut is leaky, and that's why they're having a problem with insulin, inflammation. Type 2 diabetes with obesity, with overweight, hyperglycemia. Again, there is an inflammation, insulin resistance, cortisol levels are high in the body. And as a result of it, the insulin resistance is growing. Cortisol being high, making your adipocytes not function properly. So that excess weight, where is it going? It's going to your belly, around the viscera, around the organs. Fatty liver. How many of you in your health check has seen fatty liver? Please don't take it simply. Fatty liver is becoming the first chronic disease and is arresting your liver metabolism. I'm addressing fatty liver at a very early stage. I'm asking people to work on that. Means your fat's going in your viscera. Let's work on removal of that, because that's going to reverse your chronic disease. So saying that gut and that leaky gut or lack of microflora, so using probiotics, I'm a big fan. I think people should use a probiotic every day. It's like a vitamin, doesn't hurt you. There is no. Now, another thing is why I keep using that word healthy microflora, because there is that unhealthy microflora which causes bacterial overgrowth. If I know if you've heard of syndrome called SIBO, which is basically bacterial overgrowth in the intestine, which is terrible bacteria which will let all the proteins pass. We are looking for healthy microflora. So taking a probiotic can actually help in reducing inflammation. And I'm sure Dr. Sridutt now can actually talk about gut and neural axis. And then what happens when a patient keeps coming to me with IBS, and I give them something called amitriptyline, which is basically something which just breaks that gut neural axis sometimes and reduces the unhealthy lack of serotonin, dopamine from high cortisols. We reduce the epinephrine levels, anxiety levels, and that causes us to calm down. So the gut cannot be ignored. It is one of the most important parts. And we in Sugar.fit, we really look at your gut, at your microflora. We really understand that a person has a leaky gut, what's going on, and we help insulin resistance.
superpower has made it such complex chemistry inside. But I'm sure that Pramila will really help us simplify it from an intake standpoint. But before we get there, a quick time check since she has a flight to catch. We are doing well on time. If there is one question, maybe we could take that before she leaves. Any questions? Dr. Anshul, are you checking on the questions on the chat? Anyone, any questions for Dr. Chhavi, please?
You spoke about antibiotics, right? And unfortunately, the time we live in, sometimes we or our kids have to go through a cycle of antibiotics. So should we be wary about it or should we avoid it as much as possible? Like when it's inevitable, what can we do? Is just probiotics enough? Correlate is enough? What should we do to sort of come back to the original state?
Yes, so very good question. Yes, stay away from antibiotics as much as you can. So you should be wary about it because they will wash away your healthy microflora also. That is undeniable. Taking a probiotic with an antibiotic is important, but what happens is 5-day course of antibiotic, people stop their the probiotic at 5 days. Now I am telling everybody without antibiotic to take probiotic. So when I tell people take it for a month, it doesn't hurt you. You have to, once your antibiotic is over, you have to replenish those healthy microflora for at least a month. There's no point giving your children also 5 days. Okay, fine, that will help a little bit. But you need to give it longer. These things help your body. They cannot give you side effects. So my answer to your question is give a longer course of probiotics after antibiotic. Do not use antibiotic as until your doctor is very sure. Keep questioning them. Maybe check a white cell count, CBC. Where am I going with that infection? Is it a viral, which is a lymphocyte predominant infection? So look at it, and the doctor will be more than happy. I think being educated about antibiotics is very important. There is an absolute need for using antibiotic, but it is also very important to be very careful in handing them out or taking them.
Fair enough.
What is your suggestion for young children who will suggest to take antibiotics?
I just said that they
Young
can give
children, we give them probiotics.
absolutely. Sporolac. There's a sachet for the smallest kid also, and there's another liquid that comes out of it. Yeah, Introgermina, but there's also a syrup which comes for kids, which is very easy to give. I'm a physician, so I forget the pediatric medical names. But you can Neutralin B actually. Neutral, very very famous for it. So you can use that and use it longer. Just don't stop it with an antibiotic.
And if I can just ask a very 30-second question right there. So does this mean just a yogurt or whatever is not enough? It has got to be adequately supplemented with.
So yes, I do believe in data and the milligrams or the billion probiotics that you get in a Introgermina. So yogurt is good, and I think one thing that I do stop, even though I'm not for dairy, and that's another day discussion we can have. But for curd, which is half digested and has probiotics, it actually strengthens those channels, gut, those toll plazas of your intestines. So does not let the insulin resistance becomes better. So we allow curd because Indian culture, we need curd. Curd is a very important part of it. So curd is there, but yes, I cannot quantify. And too much curd will again give you dairy, and then I have an insulin resistance issue with dairy. So my thing is a limited curd, but along with that one probiotic a day is something that I tell everybody, and I do it for myself. So yes.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Truly appreciate
A couple of quick questions.
Yeah, I'll take it. I will leave at 11:40. I have 5 minutes.
So one was specific to a brand of probiotics called SIBO.
Yes.
Is that something that's good?
That's very
What are the
good.
alternatives? That is one. The second was, again, you explained how the connection of the gut, the leaky gut to the autoimmune disease is part of it. What could be the other causes of autoimmune disease?
Autoimmune diseases are your body making antibodies against a particular tissue or cell. Nobody has really found out. There is a genetic predilection, but mostly if we knew what causes autoimmune disease, then we would have fixed them. We don't have a fix for autoimmune disease. We give steroids, we give methotrexates, which are on the top, but we don't have a root cause for sure, leaky gut is one of them. So I keep telling people reduce, and I'll leave that to Pramila to talk about because I really wanted to talk about it. But there are food groups that really help you with taking an anti-inflammatory diet. I hope she'll touch back on that. It's a very important topic. And I think that is very important, and I will not get into her thing, but definitely a particular living, but I do not have a root cause for your autoimmune to be able to work on the autoimmune. Except they have associated leaky gut with the inflammation, with autoimmune. So now we're really working on the gut part of it and your nutrition part of it to work on it. But there is no, like for diabetes, we have insulin, we can give insulin. There is no reason we just work on the top. We reduce inflammation of autoimmune diseases by steroids, but methotrexate, but there is no root cause that you could correct, that you could solve.
Last question. This is kind of, you've covered most of it, but it talks about intermittent fasting, the 12 hours minimum that you might want to put into
Maximum.
qualify.
I give
12 hours is the
maximum.
maximum.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So I
So that
don't
would
believe
help.
in 16-hour fastings, and because again, again it's a huge thing. I can always come back and talk. I always like to. So basically, what I think is that if you overdo diet or if you believe in 16-hour fastings, which I'm not going to contradict, people have a lot of internet is full of it. But again, I always believe in natural living, and if you read circadian codes, you have to understand that natural living means that in the dark phases you don't eat, but in the light phases you eat. But saying that if you reduce your calorie too much, your basal metabolic rate will also slow down. That is a guarantee. That's why people who suddenly lose weight, they become plateau fast because your cells have actually said, that's it, BMR is reduced. Now our requirement of energy is low, and whatever you will put will become into fat. So what are you going to do? You will not lose weight faster. So do not do extremes. Do not lose weight too fast. Do it gradually. I tell people 500 grams a week or 250 grams a week. Do it over a year. Calculate how much weight you lose. Don't do it over 3 months because your whole cells are now paralyzed. Their BMR is going up.
अपने दिमाग
Basal
लगाओ।
metabolic rate is reduced. So your energy consumption is more.
अभी तुम्हें बताया था कि फिजिकल टॉर्चर क्या है, तो अपना दिमाग लगाओ।
Thank you so much. There is a lot of
जहाँ
insight.
करना है वो करना कर लो।
And thank you so much. I am very, very sorry to do this, but I have to. Please sit down, everybody. Thank you. Let's continue with the rest of our discussion. As we said, let's move to Pramila now, given the right level setting Dr. Chhavi has done for us in terms of metabolism, gut health. Again, my big question is always festive season is coming up. So Pramila is going to guide us, help us into what it takes to establish that balance. So Pramila, we'll start off with the first question saying food habits. What is that link between food habits and good health? I think she's addressed quite a bit of it, but from a dietitian and nutritionist standpoint, please help us understand the link between food habits. Again, habits, a strong word that she's introduced to us, Dr. Chhavi. Help us understand that.
Thank you, Rajni, and thank you, Gopi, for having me. A lot of you know me here, and I have a couple of my clients sitting here, and in India, I've had many people where we have had these kind of discussion. And I think Dr. Chhavi started the talk, and she's actually set the whole environment and the platform for me, because most of the major topics related to nutrition has been touched upon. So it has been such a warming up session for me to carry it forward. But now I would just micro cut it and also do it into a little more detail on how and why inflammation happens, or probably to start with your question, how food is deeply related to health, or in the deficiency of good food, how can it impact our health and how deeply? So in a very simplistic term, food is basically nutrients, right? If you scientifically break down food, it's basically nutrients, macro and micro. Macro, we say macronutrients because they are needed in larger quantities. So they would be protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Well, I know when people hear carbohydrates now, it's a sort of a negative word for a lot of people, because a lot of whatever information we hear or even the diet trends encourages us to restrict carbs a lot. But I'll take that separately whether that is needed or not. But the macronutrients would fall into protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and the micros would be vitamins, minerals, and water. Yeah, water is also included as a nutrient. So we really need to understand because 70% of our body is water. So we cannot ignore water, just that it doesn't have any calorie, but it is actually the whole basic platform through which all the biochemical reactions happen. Without water, which is scientifically H2O, most of the reactions in the body cannot take place. That is why the water intake is very important. We say that minimum at least 8 to 10 glasses of water is needed. Now coming back to nutrients, the amount of nutrients we have is innumerable, and it will be making it very complex to say that, okay, we need all these nutrients and each nutrient has a specific function. Right from a small mineral like iron to a major nutrient like protein, everybody has a specific function. So it would be very difficult to say that, okay, we need certain nutrients which needs to be given more importance and some, it doesn't work like that. It's just that like the whole English vocabulary is made with all alphabets. Of course, we have more importance to the vowels because they are more frequently used, but we cannot do without the absence of even a single word. Similarly, the body cannot do without the absence of even a single nutrient. So all of them are really important. Now why? Because right from the time we put food into our body, the body is in an automated mechanism where the digestive juices are secreted and then the digestion process started. At any point of time. That's why she said that the night eating, because even at 9 o'clock night, if you put food, the body doesn't know the time, but the body has to start working. It has to deal with any food which you put in. The moment the food goes in, a set of reactions automatically has to start to handle that food. So right from the digestion to the absorption of nutrients from the food which we take to the production of energy, we all need certain nutrients in a chain reaction. There are so many reactions, but to keep it simple, all these reactions, the major one called the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle, but there are many of them and all of them need small nutrients in minute quantities. So that is why it is important that we eat a balanced diet where we try to get most of it. And at today's lifestyle where I see that it's very difficult to have everything together. So that is why welcome to the world of supplements where, we have supplements coming in so that whatever is deficient through the natural diet, of course, natural diet is the best and the bioavailability which we have from a natural diet cannot be compared to the absorption which happens in a supplement. But of course, it is the next best thing which you can give to your body. So it's very important that the body gets all the nutrition because that is how you power it. For example, we all have branded cars or the ladies, we all use makeup. So we are very particular that we use the best quality or we give the best quality fuel to our cars. Why? Because we want it to run well. It's such a simple logic. So why don't we have that same logic that we need to give the best to our body for it to run well? Well, the body is so amazingly designed that even if you abuse it for some time, probably like 6 months, 1 year, it will still keep working. The unfortunate or probably the fortunate thing is that the deterioration which happens in the body is gradual. It takes a while for us to understand the effects. But then if we closely observe how we feel, especially after we age, probably after the age of 30, we can see how our body responds, right? Some days we get up, we feel bloated, we have swelling, we have some joint pains. But the moment we go out in the sun, we have a walk, we have a healthy breakfast, we have a lot of water, we see that it is taken care of. So similarly, if we are a little observant on how our body changes and address the symptoms, small symptoms then and there, we see that the body also responds amazingly. So it is important that we give it the fuel, the nutrients, because in the absence of it, somewhere or the other, the prescription of optimal health cannot be achieved. But I can give you a small example. like magnesium, which is a very small mineral in the body, or iron, which is a very small mineral in the body. But the absence of it for a longer period of time can cause fatigue or weakness, which is a major issue now after post-COVID. A lot of people have the post-COVID weakness or fatigue. But then the first thing we look at is vitamin D, vitamin B12, magnesium, because all these nutrients are very closely connected to weakness and fatigue, apart from, of course, the other nutrients like protein and fat. So it's important that we understand we need to have variety in our food. One is variety so that it gives you all the nutrients. Second is nutrient density. It's a new word again. I'm adding to the heavy vocab, the nutrient density. In the sense, when you have a meal, you really look at it in the form of nutrition. Samosa hai, vada pav hai, yeah, like a dessert hai. If you look at it, of course, it's very tasty, right? But then suddenly, when you look at it from nutrition point of view, you understand that does it have enough proteins? Does it give me healthy fats? Does it have some decent amount of vitamins or minerals? And if your answer is that okay, it doesn't give me much of it, then obviously would you choose to put that in your body? So that is why we name it as junk food or empty calories. Empty calories means you are getting calories, but you're not getting anything else. It doesn't have any nutrition. So empty calories. So why would we want to put empty calories? Especially when we are also conscious about our weight, that we wouldn't want to put on too much weight, but at the same time, we want to maintain those kind of energy levels where we are multitasking and managing so many things. So coming back, I would like to also reiterate Dr. Chhavi's words that nutrition actually is very simple, because if you look at how our ancestral people would have lived, do you think they had so much of knowledge or they had access to internet or such kind of norms? No. But then if you look at them, most of them were much, much healthier than us because they followed a pattern. I think a major, one more major reason for their good health was lack of processed and packaged food, which is a big menace. I feel it's a big menace, especially to the next generation, because I feel our generation, we still are used to home food. We love home food. We crave for, the mom's home cooked food. But for kids of today's age, where at a young age they are exposed to so much of processed food, and it's so easily available that you Swiggy it, you Uber eat it, or you just have to press a button and you get your, and that to any point of the day. So the food industry has captured it so high and it is so powerful that it will be very difficult unless we ourselves understand and also educate our kids that anything which comes in packet, anything which is packaged would be mostly, I would say mostly deficient in nutrition. You need to look at real food, which would be fruits, vegetables, your whole grains, eggs, poultry, dairy, which doesn't come as packaged or processed. So the key thing is real foods, nutrient density. Look at your meal, how nutrient dense they are. Secondly, the quantity. The quantity which all of us are used to eating. It's very important that we understand our body can work on a very less portion or less quantity as long as the nutrients are provided. That's why the word nutrient density again, that we don't rate the food in terms of the portion. We rate the food in terms of the nutrition it gives us. So if we have a protein bar with a lot of vitamins and minerals and protein, probably that can sustain us for the next 5 hours rather than a full meal of a big plate of poha. I'm just giving an example because Indian foods, as she said, is very carb rich. We have poha or a pav or 2 toast spreads, which is more of carbs but very less nutrients. So important is not to quantify it, but to see what is the quality of nutrition we are getting. Because unless and until that is provided, the body will feel fatigued and weak, and it will show up either in the form of cravings, in the sense, even if you had a very good breakfast, most of us feel that I had at 9 a.m. and it's hardly 12 and I'm still very hungry. That's because the food has been very carb rich. So there's a sugar high, and then after a few hours, there's a sugar crash. So that is usually what makes it feel, or probably the protein and vitamins have been very less. So if you tend to feel like that, we need to always question or reflect what we have had and accordingly make minor changes so that the sugar levels are not fluctuated. Because the moment you feel a sugar crash, there is no way but to head for some food. So the important thing is to avoid that high sugar crashes, ups and downs in your, because see, when you tend to feel hungry, there is no way you can't say that I'm really hungry, I'll have my willpower and not eat. That isn't sustainable. So sustainable is a way of living or a meal plan which gives you very less sugar crashes and stable blood sugars, apart from, of course, all the nutrients. One more thing I would like to add here, apart from quantity, is the frequency. How often we consume meals. I believe a body can easily work on 2 to 3 meals a day, as long as it is fully nourished. All the nutrients are given. But the lifestyle we live is, apart from 3 whole meals, I think easily we have 2 or 3 snacking times in between. So what happens is the body hardly gets time to repair or to detoxify, because we put in a meal, it goes into digestion, absorption, and elimination. In a couple of hours, it keeps repeating the same process. So we need to ponder the frequency of meals, whether that is really needed by the body, and how we can plan our limited meals in a way that they are nourishing. And slowly, then you will realize that when the meals are nourishing, your cravings doesn't happen. You feel really full. Because most of the hormones like insulin go down, and leptin, as she mentioned, is the satiety hormone. So satiety hormone comes when you have enough protein and when you have enough nutrients. But if you eat one whole meal of probably toast or poha or upma or any carb-rich food, but if it is lacking in vegetables and protein, you will tend to feel hungry next couple of hours. So important is to plan a meal which makes you satiately full, which can be done by nutrient-dense meals, and finally work on the frequency. So obviously, when you're satiated, you can very easily work on cutting down the frequency of meals. So these are the couple of things I feel we need to take care when it comes to health, because the moment we go wrong with the frequency, the timing, and the proportion of meals, diseases can set in. The most important being, as she said, the hyperinsulinemia. Now, hyper means high, insulin means the presence of hormone insulin. Whenever we eat food, especially refined foods or sugary foods, the sugar level goes up. And when the sugar level goes up, the body's way to manage the sugar level is to produce insulin. The insulin hormone comes in, it helps the body, the cells, to take in that glucose level and to use it for energy. So this is fine as long as we are giving it a limited supply of glucose. But the moment the frequency increases or the quantity increases, the body needs to produce more and more insulin. And that is when the problem starts. And if the frequency is like 6 times a day or 7 times a day eating, most of the time your insulin levels are going to be high. And that is called hyperinsulinemia, which is one of the root causes. Most of the recent studies have proved that hyperinsulinemia is the root or the starting point of most of the diseases like diabetes, heart diseases, PCOS, even something called metabolic syndrome, which is root. So yes, I think this is how deeply food is related to diseases.
So much, right? So magical, but so much science into it. I really wish my daughter should have come in here. 12-year-old, she and I fought big time last evening. She was like, the home is so boring, I don't have interesting snacks. And people who know me, they know that I really enjoy cooking. And I'm like, what do you mean by interesting snacks? She's like, there is no Oreos at home. I said, there is makana. She's like, but there is no sour cream peri makana or the processed stuff. So if I can take the liberty, if Rotary can at some point do a session maybe for teenagers and adolescents with someone like Pramila, right? I think that will be a big contribution in the direction of that 1.5 diabetes reduction for all of the kids out here, especially TISB, all of these schools, the kind of options that they have in terms of food. I think it's really important that we focus on nutrients and what they consume. Right? So I'm taking the liberty of requesting you.
That's what we were discussing right now. We have a session for kids.
Please, absolutely. I'll make sure. I don't know how much they will grasp and take. Probably they'll hate Pramila after that. But that's all. Make sure you're seated and
So
ready.
I have two teenage kids at home and both in TISB, so you can imagine how things are.
Absolutely.
To add to your concern, I have a lot of kids who traveled from India who in TISB or in this, and they're all studying in US or UK. And now it is good to see that once they go there out of home and they see how kids around them are fit and how they need really good fitness level to manage life on their own. You know, you don't have a maid, full-time maid cleaning up or cooking food on the table. You have to do your laundry. Along with that, you have to submit your assignments. You have to clean up your room. I mean, this is my daughter included now. She's doing her second year at LA. So suddenly they realize that it's no more easy unless and until you are really mentally and physically fit. And there are a lot of kids here in APR who are consulting me for the same, and I find it so fulfilling. I would say this is the most fulfilling part in the last couple of years that I've been able to change their mindset. And also I have brought a lot of change in my approach, because when you consult an adult and a teenage, it's a totally different ballgame. The first time when they come to me, it is very clear from their facial expression that they are not wanting to meet me. They have been forced by their parents, and they will be like, okay, now auntie is going to lecture about food, nutrition. Auntie, I have salads, this, that. Then I have to take them to a very different level, go up to their, what they aspire from life. So if you look at teenagers, they want to look good, they want to be popular, they want to study well, they want to have those kind of things motivate them.
They want to stay healthy and fit.
Exactly. It's a good trend. So, but then the discipline which is needed is lacking. It's really lacking because of how probably they've been exposed, and food industry has added a lot to our problems. In fact, I have fought with the TISB organization because the tuck shop, the food which they have there, and when my son comes and tells me, because I pack him a tiffin, morning 6 o'clock I get up and I make a very nice healthy breakfast, and some days that is not eaten. Why? Because the tuck shop junk food is available. So I had to go and fight with the school management. I said, this is not done. This is in spite of paying so much of fees. So of course there are changes happening, but I think this is something really, really needed, that I feel especially kids of this age really need this education on nutrition. But there is something which I noticed, that once they are convinced, they really seem to follow it. It's only a matter of convincing them how this is all interrelated and how it affects your long term, it affects your looks, even basic things like your hair, your skin quality. So it's like, you kind of sort of hold them on, where their weakness lies. Because everybody has their own, the points where they are looking for. Somebody is here looking for good health, somebody is here looking for, I feel tired, so how do I get more energy levels? Somebody is here looking for weight loss. But most of the young kids, I feel, they all have this silent desire to be really fit, to have great energy levels, and most of them have some idols or mentors whom they look up to. So when we converse and if we understand that who are the people they look up to, take those same idols and put it in front of them, and then we weave a story on how. So I feel that is how they are more motivated. And once they are convinced that this is how this can be done, I think a lot of people, a lot of the kids, they respond, and I'm very, very happy about it, because I myself, when I started, when some of the parents approached me that we have college-going students, I said, let me give Sotko, but I don't guarantee, because it's not totally in my control, and I was myself a little skeptical. But after 3 or 4 sessions, when the parent calls up and says कि क्या किया, what did you do? Because हम लोग 20 साल से ये बोल रहे हैं, they didn't do it, and now they are like going back to Chicago, they are cooking their own meals, a 20-year-old boy. So I think that is so fulfilling to hear, because I'm changing that person's health for lifelong.
More power to you, Pramila, in this journey. Thank you so much. Let's take time. This was a one-off, out of syllabus question that we took about kids' health.
She's ensuring somebody cooks at home.
That was against me, okay? So that's how we are not a clue, so I'm not even gonna. But anyway, so.
We have a question online, so can I ask?
For Pramila, we'll hold on to the questions at the end.
Sure.
There was one part of it, I think she shot it down saying, one of my questions was, what are the key nutrients needed? She's already spoken about the balance in nutrients. So Pramila, if you could just very simplistically help us understand before we move to Dr. Sridutt. Say, day to day, what would you recommend as the core nutrients in our meal, which is sustainable again in our current setting? Can you just help us that in a simple manner? When we move on to Dr. Sridutt, and definitely come to questions at the very end.
I'll keep it very simple. So the basic nutrients which one should look at in a plate, the first and foremost is protein, because protein is needed for the muscle building and strength. We all stand or run or do our daily jobs because of the strength we have. That is why as we age, we see that we lose a little bit of muscle mass, but which is a natural phenomenon, but we can arrest a lot of it to things. One is major protein intake, another one is strength training. So these two things are important, and you will see that people who take enough protein and are physically active, in the sense they are able to still do a little bit of weightlifting or even yoga, which has a lot of weight bearing exercises. They seem to be really active, be really mobile for a very long time, probably even up till their 90s. So the major nutrient would be protein and healthy fats, because I see that a lot of people have a negative connotation to fat, especially for weight loss diets. The first thing which you go and cut down is fat. But let me tell you, fat is again a major part of most of our cells. Our brain is 80% fat. Most of our hormones and enzymes are made up of fat. The important thing to look at is healthy fat. So there is something called saturated fat, unsaturated fat, and monounsaturated fat. So we need to see that there is a balance. Saturated fat should be a smaller part, with a bigger part with unsaturated and monounsaturated fat. Now, to keep it simplified, usually all forms of ghee, butter, olive oil, as long as it is authentic, they all form in healthy fats. The other natural fats which you can get is dry fruits. Most of them have dairy products, which is full fat milk, paneer, yogurt, cheese. They are all having healthy, but make sure that they are not highly processed. Anything which is highly processed and has a great shelf life will tend to have less milk. So protein, healthy fats, and vegetables. Vegetable is it needs to be a big part of your daily meals. It can be in the form of salad, saute vegetables, stir fries, raw vegetable. It depends on what suits to you. Raw vegetable is excellent, but if you are not used to having it since our childhood, then it may create leaky gut or allergies, or probably just it doesn't take it because we've not been used. So no issues if you can't have raw vegetables, slightly cooked, sauté, stir fry, or any form of subjis which we have. But vegetables needs to form a big part, because that is where the chunk of vitamins and minerals come, and a big part of anti-inflammatory food. Dr. Chhavi was just mentioning about anti-inflammatory food. The most of it lies in vegetables and limited amount of fruits. I say limited amount of fruits because fruit is a concentrated form of sugar. So we need to have it in small amount. So to answer your question in a gist, look for protein. Every meal, every single meal, right from your breakfast, lunch and dinner should have protein, should have a little amount of healthy fats, which can be paneer, yogurt, cheese, or some almonds, dry fruits. Or of course, if you are a non-vegetarian eater, then you have more choices like eggs, chicken, and vegetables, a whole lot of vegetables, and occasional fruit. I occasional food, because a lot of people think that eating immense amount of fruits or plenty fruits is good, but actually it is not. Fruits, if you see the ancestral way of eating, fruits were used occasionally. So let us keep fruit occasional, not like a daily. I know that we are so excited because we have so many fruit vendors coming to APR with a lot of with a lot of divine fruits, I would say, but please keep it to occasional, probably like 2 to 3 times a week. That should be more than enough because you are getting a lot of vegetables. Yeah, so I think I would just keep it short.
Absolutely, that is an interesting. That's very interesting. Thank you so much, Pramila. We will take questions for you both from the physical audience and virtual audience at the very end. Now let's move on to the very important perspective, which especially in the last 2 years, I think has become even more important for us. All kinds of spine-related issues, work from home, again, stress, lifestyle, mental disorders, all kinds of anxiety issues, how these from a scientific angle are very, very important again for holistic wellness. So Dr. Sridutt, thanks for coming. So if you can touch upon starting off with the neuro perspective for holistic health and how much does a healthy mind actually contribute to a healthy body? One of the latest books that I'm reading on mindset, obviously talks about, we always say, if only I'm healthy, I will be happy. Whereas the real truth is, if only you are happy, you will be healthy. So give us that aspect of it, that element of it from a neuro perspective and a healthy mind contributing to healthy body.
Two things. First up, I'll try to be as informal as possible, too much complex around. First things, there was a lot of food, So there's going to be more food for thought. Fair enough. So let's think about more of food for thought rather than food per se. Oh, I actually am not doing myself any favors by giving this talk. I'm actually a neurosurgeon, a spine surgeon who repairs your brain and spine. So you guys go out healthy, so lesser chance of you consulting me back. So it's a paradox that I'm having this. Secondly, it's as ma'am here said, it's extremely fulfilling to hear someone all the way down US telling that we have a difference in their lives. I have someone asking me questions as a patient and now as a moderator, so it's fulfilling to be asked questions out of that as well.
All kinds of questions during COVID. Oh my God, what is happening? You are not having a stroke. Just relax.
It's good to have you ask the questions, so at least I can use some analogies right by hand. So fair enough. Now, all the talk is all about a healthy mind in a healthy body. You're always striving to have a healthy body. You're always trying to have a fit body, but nobody defined health. Google, very good pastime. A lot of my patients do that. They come with a diagnosis. What does Google say about health? Nobody knows what health is. Try me with defining what health is. Who's healthy? Who's unhealthy? Nobody tried to do that. Well, the WHO did try to do that. They got across people from all over the world, made them sit down, and finally came to a definition of what actually health is. They said health is not just the absence of disease, but also a state of complete physical and mental well-being. So the bottom line there was, you need to have a good hardware that runs with you, as well as your software must be at least up to date, if not the latest version, so that it supports whatever hardware you are having. So basically, the concept of a healthy mind in a healthy body is outdated. I'd like to tweak it a little bit. It's a happy mind in a healthy body. If you have a healthy, unhappy mind in a healthy body, you are a nervous wreck and you are inflicting yourself on everybody else as well. It has to be a very happy and a peaceful mind in a relatively healthy body. Now, everyone has an inner voice within us. It's normal to hear a voice within you. Very honest. It's wrong to have multiple voices within you. Okay, so if you are having more than two, okay, I'll give you two. If it's more than two, then yes, you need to seek counseling. One, agree. So you all have someone talking within you. You always have someone who pushes you, who tells you what to do, who tells you what not to do. You have this inner sense of judgment. Now, imagine this particular voice always grumbling at you, always telling that things are not right, always things are out of the way, this is not proper, you don't look nice, you don't work well, he is not good, that is not good. That is exactly what an unhappy mind is. You have someone always telling you that something is not proper, you got a plate, you slept early, blah, 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 blah. You need to target that voice and calm it down. Have that inner voice talk to you a little more sane, have it a little more friendly. I'll give you 2 examples, really good examples of this. The first one exactly is this great concept of walk. Now the Japs, they have a beautiful business and I think Sunil can relate to that. Now what they came up with is they packaged this idea beautifully. They came up with this thing called Mango K. They said walk 10,000 steps a day, your job is done. Walk 10,000 steps, bingo, you're fit. So they started putting across, you have smart watches, you have things and all. What essentially happened is people started to focus only on the step counts. I have so many patients come to me with spine pain saying, I walk 10,000 steps a day, I still have back pain. You know, it's a crime to have a back pain or a disease if you walk 10,000 steps. You know, people go to such an extent that they tie their smart watches to somebody else who has a walk and says that I have these many counts or things like that. Quite relatable. See, what is happening is with the idea of you counting your steps, you have basically lost the happiness that you get out of a walk. You've completely lost yourself. You don't immerse yourself in the activity of walking. You know, whatever you do, you're supposed to be happy doing it. You're supposed to derive joy out of it. A walk was intended to make you calmer. A walk was intended to make you happy, peaceful. Instead, 2 things happen on a walk. One, because you're not attaining your step counts, you're stressed, you come back home and you're already stressed, the walk didn't relax you, your body is tired, your mind is tired. Or 2, some of your neighbors told that somebody else died in a serial, so you're already, you know, lost it, that okay, she's
recording in progress.
Somebody was. So basically the walk didn't serve its purpose at all as far as your mental space is concerned. The whole concept of your 10,000 steps goes down a drain if you're not happy back from a walk. I will contradict it with a beautiful analogy. I didn't have the privilege of being a part of the story, but I had the co-traveler being a part of the story who narrated to me on a flight to London. So this happened in Bangalore. You have this, I'm sure a lot of you travel a lot. So this guy was traveling to US. So he was in line, a co-fellow, economy as all of us. So he had this gentleman right in front of him, a small, respectable gentleman, ordinarily dressed, quite simple, but not moving fast enough with the line. You know, the call is coming and this guy was in a hurry to, you know, just get in. Like all of us do, put our bags so that we get a space there and, you know, just settle ourselves down and all that. So he was always telling this man to, you know, just move fast, move fast. So things happened. This guy also got into economy. He also got in. So this guy sits himself down. So just to pass away time, picks up a magazine from front of him, turns over the page and lo, we have a guy who's standing in front of him is on the magazine. This guy was flabbergasted. And after takeoff, like not the usual norm, after takeoff, he gets out of his seat, goes across to this gentleman and introduces himself. And this gentleman was none other than Mr. Narayan. So he talks to him and says, the first simple question he asks him, sir, why aren't you flying business class? Obvious question. So the simple answer that came that reflects the kind of mental space this gentleman is does business class reach faster? Does it? It's pretty much the same as what an economy does. Couldn't find myself as business class, I'm happy here. Same flight, we reach on the same time, I'm happy. No grouses, no grumblings, no airs. As much as to say he could have bought the very whole flight. But no. Now contradict it with how exactly stressed you are and how exactly peaceful he is. And the answer to this is very simple. It's very, very easy to be happy. It's very easy to be happy. But you know what's very difficult? It's very difficult to be happier than others. Happier than others. Our whole life is spent trying to look happier. Our whole life is left trying to be smarter. But we are never innately happy with what we are. It's always that I have to walk more, I have to work more, I have to look better. It's always a mad race. We are caught in a race. 50 years back, none of us were running. You know, you have such a boom of healthcare. You have a hospital in every nook and corner of Bangalore. Why? Because we have so many patients. You never had so many hospitals because you never had so many patients 50 years back. Why was that? Nobody was running a race. Nobody was looking at the clock. Nobody was trying to meet deadlines. People were happy with what they had and not essentially trying to achieve a deadline, not essentially trying to be happier or look happier than somebody else. So being in a good mental space and being happy is a very simple thing. Our efforts and our force to try to be something better, or rather trying to show that we are a little happier, is what taking a cost on our mental health. At no point of time I'm telling you that we have to be complacent, we have to be resigned with what we have and, be happy with what it is and things like that. But this also stems from one thing. I think probably I'll relate to the two ladies who had a talk. See, no one size fits everyone. We are all made different. Okay. This is exactly how the stereotypical Indian society works. We all see fair and lovely ads on the TV. We are all happy. Somebody looking fair is always beautiful. It's ingrained, it's done. So somebody slim is always fit. Somebody a little generously built, I'll take my own example. I'm not fat, I'm a little generously built, but I'm unfit. Get out of that. You're not supposed to be that. Not everyone fits the same shoe. Not everyone has the same size. I was joking to Rajani just when we came that how the hell don't you get frightened when you look at yourself in the mirror at night? The idea here is having a happy mind.
That is right, by the way. I was like, I have to come talk to you later.
No, I keep telling her the same thing. Look, a happy mind is one that's happy with what it says in the mirror. Job done. See the mirror, you're happy with what you have. Use a bit of philosophy, be thankful for what you're blessed in life. Strive to better yourself, no qualms about that. Don't be bickering at what you are at as of now. That is the root cause of you having innumerable problems in be it physical, be it mental. So the idea is to have to be happy from within. Try to be happy in something. And be happy with marriage experience. Yeah. But try to be happy from within. It's very easy. Still, big start things. You're happy instantaneously rather than struggling and suffering and going on and on about what I am not, what I have, what I don't. The list is endless.
Perfect. So with these analogies, now give us the scientific backing, right? This state of being unsettled, the stress, not being calm. What impact does it have on your spinal health and on your breathing?
I'm trying to be less scientific as possible so that I'm more relatable. And that's okay. At least nobody's sleeping. So I'm happy.
Yeah, give us that yarn about the spinal health.
Now, look, this is something that I commonly hear from all my patients, including a lot of software professionals. I have so much stress in life. Stress, and stress. One piece of yarn is there is not even a single human being or animal on planet Earth that does not have stress. Everyone has stress. You have a stress to survive if you are an animal. You have a stress to live if you are a human. You have a stress to be better. It all depends on how you handle your stress. Stress is always there. This is something of a myth. People try to seek advice, trying to address the stress. That's actually not the crux of the problem. You need help to address how you can handle stress better. You have your priorities wrong. You can't relieve stress. Stress is exactly what life throws at you. All of you would have seen Rocky. I hope you have seen Rocky. It's a 5-part series of Sylvester Stallone, wherein there is a quote that says, when life throws a punch at you, you have two options. Either roll down and accept defeat or punch back. Now, you have to equip yourself to punch back. You cannot expect stress to not be there. Stress is always going to be there. And in my practice, I usually define stress in 2 ways. There's something called as a good stress and there's something called as a bad stress. A good stress is something that works on the principle of the rocket. Bottom is on fire, you go up. So good stress is something that lasts a little shorter, that probably makes you a little more efficient, that probably makes you a little more enthused to get your job done that probably pushes you to those limits that you probably would not have touched. That just gives you that one small extra push. But what exactly is this bad stress? Bad stress is something that you keep taking a toll on your body every other day. Bad stress is something that accumulates over days, over weeks, over months. And that reduces your efficiency, and that gives you a lot of health problems. We don't have this insight of differentiating what a good stress is and what a bad stress is. All of us think that stress is the same and it's getting to me. We rather don't sit down, introspect and filter, okay, this stress is probably helping me contribute better, but this is something that is bogging me down. Now again, 2 examples here. Work from home, very relatable. Everybody was going gaga, work from home, oh my God, it's a vacation at home. What 99%, I didn't have the privilege of working from home. Neither my wife, we were both working during COVID overtime. But what a lot of you didn't know, that work from home also means work at home as well. There was a work at home and then work from home. So the work at home got to them. So 3 months down the line, work from home was a major stress. They were like, let the offices open, please. Get us out of home. Now, nobody got into this space that home is going to be so stressful at the end of the day. Home was probably a place wherein you went to relax, wherein you went to have a good time. Home all of a sudden became hell. Now, I'm not going to go into the relations of who was the devil there, but anyways. So that is what stress is. So COVID changed the paradigms of exactly how you're looking at stress. So COVID probably changed how stress actually behaves. Now, I'll give you one more example as to how you actually manage stress, and then probably come down to how you can get through your stress part of it. What does stress do to you? See, every person has an inner engine running. You have your body working in a particular way. Your body needs fuel. We already have heard lots as to what fuel you have to give. What exactly happens in stress is your body is always in overdrive. Your mind feels the need not to rest. The stress is bugging you down so much that you feel that you have to rest. Your body is continuously telling you that it's time to, take a break, chill, but your mind is always sticking in overdrive. It says you have a deadline to meet, you can't rest. There's a disjunction between what your body feels and what your mind thinks. Your mind is always telling you, don't do this. But ultimately, it always is mind over body, and you end up doing something that is probably not in line. And that is where the crux of stress having a physical effect comes into play. Beautiful example of this is Bangalore traffic. This is how I look at it. See, Bangalore roads are probably the only place wherein you share a common space with the Bangalore public. Your community is not, it's limited. Your school, your office spaces is not, but Bangalore roads are where across social strata you mingle with people throughout. And considering the amount of traffic we have, I used to do it. I moved in Bangalore in 2016. Every time somebody cuts across, I still have an example at home that does that. Somebody that cuts across, it always says, hey, what's happened? There's a road rage, there's an argument, both of us get heated. You end up a nervous wreck, you go reach your place and you're already stressed. And that happened to me for 3-4 months, and then I hit upon the trick. Every time something like that happens, the only thing I do, I smile. I don't retort, I don't give any verbal abuses. Whatever happens from the other end, I just smile. Over a period of time, the smile has become so habituated that even if it's my mistake, I sheepishly smile. What happens is, I've seen, I get a lot of smiles back. I have stopped getting that, hey, ghar pe bola nahi hai kya? No. And if it's their mistake, I get a lot of sheepish smiles as well. Simple trick, works to reduce my stress. So the stress of driving is out of the window. It's a very simple way to do it. Give a smile. People either think you're insane or you're actually being pleasant. At least the job is done. There's a quick fix at that. So handling stress is not something out of the world. The only first thing that you probably need to do is sit down, analyze what stress is good for you and what stress is bad for you. And one very common complaint that I get from everyone is, I have so much stress, I can't go to sleep. They seek medications to go to sleep. There's a very, very common thing that happens. I see a lot of wide eyes, so yes, it's probably common here as well. Now look, nobody needs to teach you how to go to sleep. We are all gluttons. We just fall asleep when given the opportunity to. But we just point fingers at stress and say that stress is what is causing me not to go to sleep. The key to going to sleep is to have a tired body and a relaxed mind. Your mind wants to relax, your body is tired, wants to rest, sleep comes natural. Now, in each and every one of our cases, it's the opposite. We have a very relaxed body, we sit, we do a lot of work sitting. Our mind is a nervous wreck. The mind does not want to go to sleep, you want to push your body to sleep, you don't get sleep. You turn over, you do this, you do that, people come cheap, people come whatnot, listen to Sadhguru, listen to Nityananda, whatever. Okay, fine, no names. But you will never end up getting sleep. So you resort to medications, you depend on medications, they help you for some time, you become addicted, you can't get out of that. Things go take a downturn. But have you ever thought about this, that you just sit down as a kid, you just try to sleep? Nobody taught you how to go to sleep, nobody told you that you're not getting sleep. You never had the issue of sleeplessness at all when you were a kid. And why was that? Your troubles were less, or rather, the way you handled your troubles was different. The perspective with which you handled your stress was different. Probably your stress was who's going to get the bat the next day for the cricket game rather than something else. So in that regard, the way to handle stress is completely individualistic, but two advices that I would love to give you is one, spend 15 minutes a day introspecting. Meditation is a very difficult task for a lot of people. The moment they close their eyes, they have every thought in the world coming to them. And meditation, I know. And meditation becomes more of a stress rather than anything. I would rather say, open your eyes, introspect. Talk to yourself. It's not a bad thing to talk to yourself. You're not mad if you talk to yourself. Please talk to yourself. Find out what's wrong. You're the best person who can handle what stress is in your life and how best you can do that. And secondly, please develop a hobby. Whatever it is, we all had hobbies when we were kids. We all had hobbies when we were in college days. Singing, painting, gardening, blah, 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 whatever. Binge watching Netflix is not a hobby, I'm sorry. You gotta sit at home, try doing something creative. Singing is a good hobby. It doesn't matter if it's traumatic people at home. That's not their problem. Write something down, sing something, go for a gardening, go for a walk, go for cycling. But the idea of the whole thing is try to relax your mind. You need to be in control of what happens here. And the activity should be so pleasant that you should lose track of time. It should not be like, the dog has said half an hour, keep looking at the watch. At the moment of half an hour, there's a buzz and you say, job done. No, that's not exactly how it works. Lose yourself doing it, and it works wonders. It tries to keep you insane, keeps you calmer. Introspection helps you even identify what's going wrong and accept your flaws. We all have one. Accept your flaws and move on. And you will definitely end up having a happy-ish mental space. And the strive is anyway the journey to having a perfect mind is always on. So you move on along that rather than sitting and bickering that things are not right outside. Try making things better on the inside so that you handle them better.
Thank you. I think that gives me the segue into the third question. You already talked about the calm mind, the happiness, the hobbies, and all the things. But if you got to give us a few core tips and tricks, we continue to hear several youngsters, cardiac arrests, strokes, all of those. What are those tips and tricks that you would give us to make sure we are kind of protected against any stroke that is impending and any major spinal issues? So again, I'm sure there is a whole list out there, but at least the top 5 tips, 3 to 5 tips.
You didn't have. See, as far as preventing a stroke, now post-COVID, all of this went for us. Nobody thought that a 20-year-old can have a stroke. Nobody thought a 30-year-old can end up with a heart attack. COVID changed the whole dynamics of things. Me, my wife, pretty much the whole of the family, a lot of doctors in the family, we have been through the thick of COVID. I'll give you an example again as to how this worked. And I reiterate this. We have seen people across the age spectra having COVID. We have had people who are 90 plus having COVID. We have had people having 20 plus have COVID. We have more examples of people who are 90 plus who have recovered out of a severe COVID. And we have more examples of people in their 20 and 30s succumb to a very mild COVID. Hardly anything on the CT, hardly anything on the clinical. 2-3 days, they have the cytokine storm, as you have already heard. Boom, job done. 90-year-old sedentary, he knows things are done. So COVID is basically just an excuse. Nature should have its way at some point of time. So he just took COVID as an excuse. That's about it. walk out happy ever after. And I reiterate this, both waves of COVID, I'm sorry, rather than more lives being claimed out of COVID per se, the fear of COVID claimed more lives. People were so afraid of COVID. People were so scared of COVID that the moment they thought they had COVID, they thought the game is up. I'm dead. That's it. Job done. You lost the battle up here. So all COVID had to do was just help you along the way. That's about it. You never even thought you had to, take things more lighter. Coming from someone who's been through COVID, I do understand that COVID is a serious infection. COVID has probably destroyed a lot of livelihoods. COVID has wreaked its havoc, but still, at the end of the day, it's still a viral infection. Some people do have casualties, some people do have fatalities, some people do have morbidities. Doesn't essentially mean that you will invariably end up in the grave if you have COVID. You have an infection, fair enough. This just proves pretty much the same as you have any other disease. You are walking down the road, you have a trip, you have a fall. That's about it. You have the pain, you just move on. Nobody ever thinks that you have had a fall, you have a brain hemorrhage. Doesn't work that way. So the moment somebody had COVID, they immediately think they're going to have a stroke, they're going to have a heart attack, they're going to have everything. Guys on the other side of 70, with all due respect, they were thinking, fine, lived our life well, we are happy with what we have, and let's deal with COVID as just another infection, and we had more recovery rates out of that. So the basic way to avoid you having a cytokine storm or having a stroke or having something out of COVID or any other stresses, try to handle it on its face value. Don't add extra tags to a particular thing that you're coming across. Now, somebody is hyper stressed, somebody is having a stroke. Well, hell yes, there was probably a reason for him having a stroke. I'd still give him the benefit of the doubt that there was some biochemical issue somewhere down the line. Bad eating habits, lack of exercise, things like that, but that was just probably 30% of the whole problem. The other 60% or 70% was more so thinking that I will invariably end up having a stroke. Somebody in the neighborhood had a stroke, so my time is coming tomorrow. And invariably or otherwise, you end up having a stroke if you think you have one. You are what you think. It's as simple as that. So whatever you do face in life, whatever you do have, whatever stress is thrown up, deal with it on face value. Don't attach tags, and please don't Google as well. There's a lot of nonsense on Google. Everybody has an opinion. Try to decide what things are depending on each day. You have COVID, fair enough. Or you have a stress, fair enough. You have a stroke, fair enough. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it the best possible way. There are solutions for pretty much every other problem in life. It's pretty much the same way this thing. Avoiding stroke goes a lot of importance on how exactly good mental space you are in and how exactly are you handling it. There is no science in the world that completely prevents stroke 100%. We are yet to achieve that particular thing wherein I give you this one small powder, 2 small teaspoons every other day, you don't have stroke for the rest of your life, or give you an amulet, keep it under your pillow, no stroke for the rest of your life. No, it doesn't work that. There is a chance that you have a stroke, there is a chance that you have a heart attack. Do your best not to contribute to that. You already have a small percent in your own life. Do your best not to make it more severe. Do your best not to make yourself help it along the way. Stay calm, happens. And the ideal analogy of this is, all of us have something good happen in life. I keep telling this at home as well. Whenever something good happens, whenever, all of a sudden you get a message that, 1.5 or 2 lakhs got transmitted to your account, you never ask why. You never go to God, you never light a diya and say, God, why me? Why give me so much money? Nobody does that. You don't go and say, why give me good health? Why give me good job? No. If you are not thankful for what you already have, you have no right to go and say, why me, when you have a stroke. You have a stroke, that means to say you're supposed to handle it, rather than saying, why me, and get yourself lost in the deliberations and lead yourself all the way down. So the trick of you avoiding a stroke is to keep yourself chill, take it at face value, deal with it as anybody else does. And that's about it. There's no other way to say that I'm going to completely prevent. I'm not going to give you some shortcut wherein you walk out of here and say, I'm not going to have stroke the other way around. Not going to happen.
Sounds an easy solution, but I don't know what maybe. So we'll take your message not at face value. We will take it much.
I know you're going to put the tags on it, but anyways.
Anyways, thank you so much. That talks about the metabolism angle of it. to absolutely make sure wellness is holistic and there is science behind it. Although Dr. Sridutt said there is still not that 100% science on avoiding stroke, I think that is where the state of mind really comes in.
He says we should look for stroke of good luck.
Stroke of good luck, exactly. Strike, stroke, and make that the plural of strike. Time check, we are past 5 minutes past that time window that we gave, but that said, I think it was a very interactive, exciting discussion for all. We will take a few minutes for questions. Anyone here, how many, do we have? Yeah, please go ahead.
I have two questions. One for Pramila and one for. One question is, what eating time at night? Okay, so we say like you think you should eat beyond sunset or whatever. But then I also hear that there should be a minimum gap of eating and sleeping, right? The immediate question that baffles me is if somebody's sleeping at 12 o'clock at midnight, and for somebody who's sleeping at 10 o'clock at night, is it equal to saying that hey, he can eat at 7 and this person can eat at 9 because the gap is 3 hours? And then I'm very confused about it. Once they eat my gap, and that's it. Can you please share some more?
Yeah, so this is a very common question asked now because the sleeping time of most of us have extended
Right.
to a very late hour, which was not there like probably 10-15 years back. But still, if somebody can eat and follow the circadian rhythm, which is like around sunset or maybe 7 p.m.ish, that is wonderful. There are a lot of health benefits attached to it. But given a circumstance where you have to work late every single day as per the other countries' time zones, or if that is the job requirement, I would advise at least 3 to 4 hours before your bedtime. So probably if your bedtime is 12, then you should be having your meal probably around between 8-8:30. So that the body gets those next 3 hours to digest and assimilate all the nutrients, and you get also enough time to drink water after that, because at least after 1.5 hours of the whole digestion process, you need to drink water. And because if you go to sleep on a heavy stomach, you will see that your sleep is very disturbed. You will not be able to sleep. Secondly, sleep is more a time for healing and detoxifying the body. And if that time the body is doing digestion, then it actually messes up your sleep and your detoxification process. So ideally a 3 to 4 hours gap would be.
And what's about walking after food? Some people say you should walk after food, some people say you should not walk after food first.
You need to have a gap of around, I would say 45 minutes, 1 hour. It wouldn't be a good idea to walk soon after food, because as soon as the food is done, the body goes into a digestion process. So most of your blood flow is focused on your digestive system, and then suddenly you're giving the task of walking. So it wouldn't be ideal to walk soon after a meal, probably at least 45 minutes. If you're very keen that you need to walk after a meal, keep a gap of 30-40 minutes.
One question for you. So, I used to exercise quite moderately to everything. And 2 years ago, I developed some for exercise. The question for you is, what should be my exercise pattern now? Some people say you should go to gym, some people say you should eat, some people say you should walk, like Dr. Chhavi saying you should do strengthening weights. It's all very confusing. So what should we do with here?
See, the idea here is when you have your lumbar issues and things like that, the idea goes that it's not only the bone that you're looking to strong. Your muscle has to go in tandem with your bone. And muscle takes a long time to develop. Now, I wanted to talk about that. I missed it completely. See, a lot of people have this, that I take kilograms of calcium, I still have spine issues. They take calcium supplements, but they still have spine issues. They exercise really well, they still have spine issues. The problem is your spine is not able to handle the exercise you're giving. You need to listen to your body. That's where introspection comes into picture. When you have pain, pain is the language that your body talks to you. Your body can't just tell you that, look, dude, this is not proper, do something. No, it gives you pain. Pain means to say that you're doing something, it's not probably along what is supposed to be, so take a break. So I'm very sure you would have had some aches, pains, and things like that preluding to your lumbar disc, at which point of time you should have probably alerted yourself saying that, okay, what I'm doing is probably too heavy for the body habits I have as of now. Can't rule it out, maybe 6 months, 8 months down the line with adequate strengthening, you would have probably been able to do that heavy exercising. But at the point that you were doing the heavy exercise, your body was not equipped to do it. So you need to work out on how to strengthen your musculature and bones and then probably do it, rather than the other way around, that you do it and then you get strong. It's the other way around. You need to be strong and do it rather than do it and get strong.
So is weights okay not for somebody who has for issues?
That depends on how much of weight you take, how gradually you hike it up, and how regular you are with it. A 10 kg once a week is bad. A 2 kg every day of the week is extraordinarily good. So it all depends on how focused, how involved, and how consistent you are with lifting weights. Consistency is what pays you the result at the end of it.
So genetics aside, right, what can someone do to avoid things like Alzheimer's? Getting Alzheimer's.
I'm not sure you can alter genetics as well. Can't choose your parents. See, Alzheimer's, the biggest problem is this. We had Alzheimer's, we had dementia, we had the whole gamut of disease that the West is right now, popularizing and blaming it on foodstuffs, blaming it on lifestyle and everything. At face value, we think whatever the West blows, we think that yes, that is right and probably this was wrong and things like that. Dementia probably has to do a lot with not exercising your mind enough, not keeping it otherwise occupied. You need some time for yourself. You need your mind to be involved in things that you like to do. That's where the role of a hobby comes. You need to exercise other unused parts of your brain so that the whole thing stays healthy. Albeit, I can still tell you that it's only 5% of your brain that's used in your entire lifetime. The rest of the 95% is just there for fun. You need to develop your channels in such a way that the brain itself feels that it's not getting bored. Try solving a crossword, play something, have fun, go out with people, have time, spend time that your brain feels that things are at ease. Exercise your mind along with your body. That's as important as that. Doesn't essentially mean that I want all of you to play chess or solve crossword. Not in everybody's forte. But do something that relaxes you mentally. Do something that makes you stronger. Do something that makes you feel better. So that when Alzheimer's does kick in, or when dementia does kick in, dementia is a side effect of aging. Nobody can help that. But when it does indeed happen, the rest of your brain is in sufficiently good health that it doesn't succumb to the disease process as early as otherwise would. If you have enough amount of brain that's working and healthy, probably when the disease does hit in, it has its some fortitude to, keep itself healthy to a point of time wherein it completely goes away. But if you have the rest of it unused, then probably the whole thing is going to go for a toss when you do have the disease. But other than that, exactly telling that this exactly prevents it, this exactly helps you, it's a little idiotypical that way around. We do have various ways where, think she might be able to answer better. Some diagrams help you, some don't, and things like that. But all said and done, it's about how well you take care of what happens up here that helps you out with that, rather than just telling that something is going to help me do this with me doing nothing much.
Guys, thank you so much. I think there are some questions online, but we are short pressed with the folks asking this. So we will do 2 short questions maybe with the physical audience here. Online folks, rest assured, we'll make sure your questions are answered. We will do this and wrap it up.
I just want to thank Dr. so much for what we discussed. About 20 years ago, I was dealing with financial stress and I had tremendous back pain and I was sleeping very little because of my stress. And after about 6 months, suddenly that financial stress changed and I was fine financially. And my back pain just resolved by itself without any medication, it just went away. And it took me another 2 months to discover that. And it's really very true what you're saying, because as our mental state changes, right, we can change and reverse many of our physical ailments. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that comment, and that coming in from a person herself who's now helping the community with her.
I'll add to that. I use that analogy at home, but it doesn't work at my place. No, why?
You and I are the guinea pigs today, I think.
No, it doesn't work in my place because of me, not because of her. I have to take calls from work. I have to work at home. I can't take a break saying that somebody's landed up with some emergency and I'm not working. I always analogize your work with your footwear. It's a bad analogy, but yes, it's an analogy at that. You're supposed to leave your footwear outside home when you get in. The same thing applies for work stress as well. Leave it outside, get home, don't bring work back home. Now, I'm actually scared telling this because it doesn't apply at our place. Don't get work back home. Don't take your stresses home. Home is a place that you go to relax. Home is something that's very close to heart. Home is something wherein you want to relax and come back the next day a better person, or have a fresh beginning. So in that way around, if possible, leave your stress behind. Go home, relax, chill, fight, scream, do whatever makes you better. Come back a better person. Works wonders.
You have a question. Perfect. So, thank you so much, all the panelists. We walk away with a very clear message that exercising your brain, exercising at a body level with the right intake of food, and understanding that there is no one-stop solution that fits all. So you introspect, you be your own doctor and investigator to create.
No.
No,
We didn't
not
go there.
that.
We didn't go there.
Creating the right track for yourself.
We didn't
That
go
is
there.
what I think.
I didn't slide out for 15 years for nothing.
So create, go ahead.
So my husband just went through cervical laminectomy. So, but the anxiety is so much that he is fine and everything. But how to balance that? Because it was all of a sudden, and he went through that. Doctor said in 3 weeks will be better, but his hand is not working. He's having too many issues. But physically, maybe you cope with the surgery and all that, but mentally, it takes you over toss. So
See, the problem there is at a very fundamental level, you fail to accept you had a spine surgery. You're always still fighting that why me? I was absolutely fine. Why did I have a spine surgery? Why me? Why should I have a spine surgery? Start off your recovery by accepting you have had a spine surgery. Accept you are a patient. Works wonders, 50% of the job is done. So the moment you accept that you've had a spine surgery, automatically you will be more careful at how you work yourself around, and you will find your quick hacks as to how to go about things of daily living. You can't be a Superman after having a spine surgery. You have your limitations in lifting weights. You will have some amount of residual numbness that takes time. You learn to accept these small flaws that the body throws at you. Making peace with your body is a Herculean task. Not many people achieve that, but you need to if you want to be healthy.
Acceptance at a holistic level. Thank you so much, audience as well, for taking the time on a Sunday afternoon, coming in and joining us. And there's a lot of food for thought, as he mentioned. So we'll continue to work for it. We'll see if we can come consult you less.
Yeah. Not you anyways.
Thank you so much, everyone. And if you can help us with the online questions later, we'll make sure we get the answers. Rotary, thank you so much, Rotary Council, for arranging this. Thank you so much.
Have a panel for the Vice Secretary, Rotarian Meena, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Half of my job is already done by her. She has already thanked everybody. So I would like to, on behalf of Rotary Council, I would like to thank all of you for coming here. And, as somebody said, the greatest medicine of all is to teach people how not to need it. And that's what you all have done today, not to use medicine, use the holistic approach. And thank you all for that. And all the Rotarians, all the family members, all the guests from towers and from the villas, thank you all. Please join us. We need more hands to work for the society. And please join us for these sessions. We plan to have, and mostly we have every month, we have at least one session. We would like all of you to join those sessions and spread the word. And thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Is it too much to ask for a group picture of everyone?
Now we're going to have a
Thank you to
And also, sorry, I thank Rajni. Everybody has thanked the doctor and all. Thank you, Rajni, for the
Guys, don't leave, please.
We would like all of us to come here and take a picture.
That's the problem.
I
for everything.
Guys, please stand behind and go, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
We can take some chairs. Please come, everybody, please come.
Ah, wait. चलेगा? हाँ, गिर जाएगा। आजा आजा। मैंने क्या है?
Ranjan, please come.
सब आ रहे हैं प्रीति
Yeah, no, अरे that person I called.
After what?
you want me to open it again
Yours only for one photo.
Please come.
Didi, आ जाओ. Yeah, no, really.
Kids come. हाँ? क्या हटा दे? सब आ रहा है ना?
दो चार बार बता देना यार।
देखिए एक सेकंड।
Yeah, no, but I believe
Somebody tells you that you don't need
Used to be a becoming terrible. अच्छा हुआ good discussion. Very good.
बस उससे हो गया
I feel surprised with the microphone.
Well, good, very simple. Right? So, 15 तरह के